z, souks, upi, al, alogi, geeks, ease, ilze, runav. And so what is your impression of that? And the sigil that we have before seen? It's a part on the board, but it's more like the stone that I showed you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I had a something kinda in mind. And you'll see I've got some little gnome people. I guess that's how you say them, gnomes. Uh, you know, all kinds. There's like little tiny ones and well, um, little ones, big ones, and so yeah, I thought about setting somehow incorporating this little set of special gnomes from a very special person, setting them up and letting them be present. And
Well,
jumping over.
I've had different I've set up different places to do my outside rituals. At some points I used just spots on the drive. Well,
Mm-hmm,
particularly that was important when I was setting things on fire.
mm-hmm,
But and these are my tools for the thing. My spring things, as one has it. My file thought, I make a new one every year. This year is yellow. I have my access to thoughts talisman. I have my triple ring that I found. Someone gave me this other costume jewelry ring for some reason. I have no idea. That's one of the things from my friend Death, by the way. And I have this Unikite stone. I have my two four-sided stones, approximately.
mm-hmm.
One is what orange quartz, so was that citrine or something? The other's agate, but a bloodstone agate.
I
And
remember those songs from last year. Yeah.
and there's a new word. The new word for this and this seasonal, I am taking the third issue of Choronzon and rendering it into this. So that's one thing about that. And the word for dragon, zivs, that is, one thing there. And okay, I can't, oh, void. So
Boy.
dragon of the void, dawn, that's dawn, right? Yeah, dawn. Dawn is the twilight before sunrise.
Mm-hmm.
Purple,
Purple.
flowering. I don't remember what geeks means, or Ezek, or Yolze, or Runav at this point, but if I come across it during what we share, is this the thing? I've decided, just like during Lunasa, which is the warmest time of year on this half of the globe, is right-hand path. I center things around that. And no right-hand path and left-hand path. A lot of people don't know what that is. Yoga and Tantra are not a things of picking sides. It's more of a methodology sort of thing. It's a flow issue, and you usually can't tell one from the other if you saw it. So, kind of like the red shift and blue shift. It's that sort of phenomenon.
Okay.
And
Um,
you
is
know, the
this
blue shift is that coming towards us. So that's
mhm,
yoga. And the red shift is that going away, but it's not the same thing as attraction and repulsion. It's the energy
mhm,
flows. So you
mhm.
aspire versus drawing down. It's like so you if you're going to say vampirism, you're typically going to say something that is actually right hand path, because people get all moralistic. It's like, oh no, I'm not right hand path. And it's like, no, it is. And typically they mean a wraith anyways. They're not really drinking blood. So what they're talking, you know, they think it sounds
Yeah.
cool when they say that, but no. Um, so I went through and put a little bit of everything in the program, and my verse selections, as seen here, um, they relate to end time stuff and some stuff related there, you know, related to what's in the poem. Some of what I said last time I didn't quite get at the time because, but it related to the linguistic use of the three terms that I drew out. So if you look at those sounds forming out within the verses that I said, it makes more sense. And so some stuff makes more sense in the original than it does in the translation. But I call forth what remains undisturbed. As earth and ages are driven to their deaths, we will bring out what inherently is, rather than by responding to their splendor. The plants that spring forth will be the dark servitors. The five of cubing will, during the eclipse of a star, a balance was not part of our nature. So we are given what shields and what tears. More than an art is the defense in our survival. Disconnected parts reach every him and every her. Disintegration comes in the cosmic dawn of soul. Lulling and shocking, witness unto the revival. We go out like an extraterrestrial in a quest that to the mundane will always seem foreign. Covered in ash, we enact beyond hallucination. What is a name from a formula? Our pseudonym. Devouring, devoured. It watches open. A messenger will be known to have killed off the old ion, and we are a part. In duty, through static, blood and flesh, we doth dart or withdraw. Disagreement becomes transformation from what we saw. By one way or another, we become the warriors who gnaw out the kingdom. We stir and scatter. Immortality is not just a flower, but a purple jewel in the cardinal iron crown. And so, what are your thoughts of that?
I well, I've got a stone here of a certain type, and it's a beautiful, it's purple in color, and when you said the purple, it's like that is going right in the middle of my one for this particular Imbolc. So yeah, I picked it. I picked up on that. Um, also made me like a little offerings chart. Um, certain colors, you know. Um,
Well, as you know, I've developed this color scheme of the seasons, and
mhm,
purple is the cross quarter into February. Then it's
Yeah.
green, the spring equinox,
Right.
yellow, the cross quarter in May,
Yeah.
and then the summer solstice white, red, the cross quarter in August, blue, the fall equinox, the cross quarter in November, orange. And one kind of thinks of how that breaks down. The hottest time of year is red, the coldest is purple. Things are starting to spring forth, but then maybe it is green, it kind of gets a little hot. And so you see some of the yellow too. It's like there's like have you seen like in the Midwest and something, it's just covered in green, and then by May it's like yellow.
Yeah. Yeah, the green grass.
Or over some of those mountains, not quite Midwest, I
Mhm.
guess, like
Some mountains tend to be like blue, like above, well, above my area. They tend to go blue. They're really pretty.
and
Yeah.
so I do when I do these rituals outside, I try inside I try to go do something with the tree at some point. Like you've noticed that I take my little like the one video, I take my little, because it's called use milk. Use milk is the translation of Imbolc. And so I have gone outside with, I found I saw some clearance goat milk, and I've been using that as an offering. It's powdered, so it's lasted these years. Because if it wasn't powdered, that would have not even worked. And it's
Right. Right. Good choice for the powder.
well, it's what was. So
Right.
but that's how these things work. You can work with what is. So many people, it's like, oh, and so I can't learn all this stuff. It's like, are you kidding me? Work from the book, or pick up a phrase or word or something every day, and then just work your way up. It's like there's a reason why they tell you this is like for six. This is how I work my seasonals. I get what I get. I work together scholarly. I try to dream things out and try to feel things, and finally I come to a point. And at one point, what did I do? I changed the tablecloth on the table, so there wasn't separate altars. I would have different. I have different colored tablecloths for every seasonal, and I don't do that anymore. But I would have that, and I would redecorate the table in preparation for what I was doing. And I even had people over. We'd talk. This is what these programs are. These are kind of like what happened before or after that the whole thing was discussed. Some people, it's like, oh, do your thing for 15 minutes, surprise me, and if I don't understand something, we can talk about it afterwards. And I don't know. That's one of the things. People are spoiled. I don't know if there's less or more people out there physically doing it themselves than 20 years ago, because now all the stuff on social media for free, and people can watch these videos, and they feel like it's like, and they're expecting like special effects, and you're aware of public channels that they're like doing all these special effects, and it's like that's not the thing. And so
I
to
dream it
read
to
off
be
here, so it's really, I call it a sigillum because there's different parts. There's that thing in the middle, there's the stuff around it, there's the stuff attached to it, and there's the other part, that square, that's sort of like a 5-point, like onx sort of looking thing, and 3 dots kind of below. And let me pull that up on the screen again. And by the way, the file font, or solar wheel, or swastika, or whatever you want to call it, it's almost like the wand of the thing. So the others, ritual placements, I don't know. So the stones are like a table, and the wand is the thing, the sword is like the little stone point, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
The metal, the talisman, and the fact that maybe I don't know, a silver present.
Mm-hmm.
But see, yeah, I put this together here.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
And so yeah, I try to make little altar pieces, but the verses that I selected that relate to this, because remember my last one was sort of end times sort of ish, wasn't
Uh-huh.
exactly, but I guess this is a little bit more explicit. You got Matthew 13:32 and 23:27, Mark 6:30-36, Luke 5:1 and 11:44. We have Genesis 10:2, First Chronicles 1:5 and 5:4, Ezekiel 38:2, 3, 4, 14, 16, 18, 39 verses 1, 6, 11, 15. From the Quran, we have 6, 73, 18, 88 to 80. 88 to 100, 20, 102, 21, 95 to 97, 23, 101, 27, 28, 36, 51, 39, 68, 50, 20, 69, 13, 74, 8, 78, 18. So some of the stuff that comes up will relate to Gog and Magog, the trumpet sounding, some stuff directly connected to what I have here. I don't have the books, right? You don't happen to have the things to read off the things. So where are we starting from? Okay, so 673, might as well start there. Okay. And it is he who created the heavens and the earth in truth. And remember, when we say he, it's a gender neutral. It's not, and the day he says be, and it is, his word is the truth, and his is the dominion on the day the horn is blown. Nor the unseen and the witnessed, he is the wise and the acquainted. Remember how I've told you that six times since moving to my current location, I have heard only at night and only before a Yellowstone earthquake that is felt. I have felt there's been this weird horn thing going on.
Like a horn, you said?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it sounds like some Tibetan sort of horn. I played it for the I found a clip online of one of those, one of those Tibetan sort of horns going off, and it's closer to that, but it's just like a constant sound, and it lasts for minutes. It's only after dusk, I think. It only happens after dusk, and it only happens when there's a Yellowstone earthquake that people feel. By Yellowstone, I mean not necessarily the park itself, but the network that relates to Yellowstone actually extends into California and Oregon. But it's happened 6 times, which is odd enough. And I feel like I'm not saying that what that I'm predicting the future or something, but it's like I feel like if there's a seventh one, I'm going to freak out, because it's like that's not exactly the number you want to see with the possible sign of disaster coming, is like time number 7 here. And okay, I think this is it. So 1888 through 100. But as for he who believes in his righteousness will have a reward for paradise, and will speak from him from our command with ease. Then he followed away until when he came to the time when he saw the sunrise, he found it rising on a people for whom we had not made against any shield, and thus we encompassed all that he had in knowledge. And then he followed away, and he reached a pass between mountains and found a people who could hardly understand. And they said, "Oh, chief of the horns, indeed, Gog and Magog are great corrupters in the land, also known as Sakos, the people of the steppes of Eurasia people. They would ride down and all that stuff. So may we assign for you an expenditure that you might make between us and them a barrier. That in which my lord has established me is better, but assist me with strength, and I will make between you and them a dam. Bring me sheets of iron until when he had leveled them between the two mountains walls, he said, blow with bellows until when he made it like fire, he said, bring me that I may pour over it molten copper." So Gog and Magog were unable to pass, and they weren't able to effect any penetration. And this is, and the chief of the two horns, Dulcarnain, said that this is a mercy for my lord, but when the promise of my lord comes, he will make it level, and ever is the promise of my lord true. And there was an earthquake. The Persians would make these iron gates to help keep people, to keep out the riders and stuff like this. And there was an earthquake, and once that earthquake happened, the Mongolians broke through and conquered Persia. And we will leave them surging against each other, and then the horn will be blown, and we'll assemble them in one assembly. And then we will present hell on that day to the coverers. And okay, I thought they were 2002. And as you may notice, that's where the Ezekiel passages come in, is that the passages in Ezekiel that one intends to go over are relating to the whole Gog and Magog situation. They're not inner earth people. They ride down from the steppes. So 102, the day the horn will be blown, will gather the criminals on that eye with eyes blued. Because there's a sickness that makes the eyes blue. And 21, and sometimes it's the shock. So one thing that we probably should watch out for is starving and other diseases that may afflict people. So 95, and then there's a prohibition upon the people we have destroyed that they will ever return until when Gog and Magog has been opened and they from every elevation descend. Now, what happened with the Magyar and the Mongolians and the Turks and stuff like this wasn't quite from every direction. So, but some of these things happen again and again, right?
Right, I agree.
And from every elevation descend. And when the true promise is approached, then suddenly the eyes of those who have covered up will be staring, in horror and saying, "Oh, woe to us, we've been unmindful, rather we were the wrongdoers." And one of the things that, we keep hearing on the TV is like, what was that? What's that horrible movie came out some years ago? America World Police, something like that.
Right.
And people would literally ask me, it's like, it's a movie, they're saying gibberish, it's not real Arabic or anything. Is it 23:101? So when the horn is blown, no relationship will there be among them that day, nor will they ask about one another. Because right now, people are just all worried about how other people are, right? And that's not the point. It's about what you're doing for yourself.
Right.
27:87.
Time.
And when some things happen too, it's like, it's just going to be, it's like Napoleon, Napoleon survived because he took somebody else's portion of food. He might have not made it if he didn't take someone else's portion of food and let them die.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, and
I don't think he knew at the time, but yeah.
certain situations or really
And
bring
of the
out.
day the horn will be blown, whoever's in the heavens, the earth will be terrified, except whom the Akalza wills, and all will come to him humbled. I think recently one of the things that has occurred is that there was more volcanic activity than was ever recorded.
Recently, you said?
Like more volcanoes going off at one time than ever in modern history.
Right.
3651. Okay, I guess we are going to. And the horn will be blown, and at once from the graves to their lord there will hasten. And whether it's the horn of war or the horn of the horn of some eruption, because volcanoes are kind of like a horn, right? Because they all blast open with a new caldera or out of an old thing. Anything changes society like that, it's going to be okay. 39. And feel free to throw in any comment. I'm making my way through one of the lists here.
Yeah, I'm making my stars and notes.
Oh, and I'll during I'll when this meeting's over, I'll send you the graphics so you can blow it up and all that yourself.
Awesome.
And the horn will be blown, and whoever's in the heavens and the earth, and whoever's on the earth will fall dead, except whom deity wills, and then it will be blown again, and at once they'll stand looking on. And the word for deity, of course, is the singular and definitive. A lot of people get all bent out of shape. It's like, yeah, it's in different languages. Because like you say God, you don't know what people mean by God. But if you use some of these foreign terms, people are always going to know if they have any clue about the religion that you're talking about. But then people are going to be like, this ridiculous list, like words are limited to one religion. Even when you do the jargon thing, the jargon thing that 5020. Like they literally try to copyright words. Like Ekankar, and I'm sure, I don't know if Unicult, if the Unicult group has done that with any of their, if they've done their terms. It turns out that every single thing with that group is actually something that's been done before. Some stuff it's like really that somebody calling themselves Unicol. I think there was even somebody in Oregon that did that back in the 80s. Not the 80s. I wasn't in Oregon in the 80s. Yeah, I think there was a Nicole in one of my classes or something, nurse that we knew of that mixed their name with a unicorn, at least to tell a story or something. I don't know. I was a kid. 5020, the day the horn will be blown. This is the day of the threat. So yeah. People are like, I've shared with you the fact that some channels have been doing stuff like basically prayers to destroy us all, and it's like you think that's what you want, but it's really not.
True.
Maybe you break free from your clinging, but that's not really the way. It's like I started a new series that I'm writing out. Oh, we're running out of time here. So 6913, and when the horn is blown with one blast. So it's different than the others. So it's different than what I've been saying, but it kind of reminds me of that. That's what sets me off. It's that thing. I knew somebody, they bought poison to kill their family. I stopped talking to them, by the way. They bought poison. No, they bought poison to kill their family because they moved somewhere in Oregon. And in this place in Oregon, every so often they would hear the same sound that I was talking about. I think it's the same sound. And it turns out to be Earth activity can be warped in the ionosphere and stuff like that, that creates an audible noise. So when there's strong, an earthquake or something, it can create this sound. And our volcanic activity, and it can create this sound. And they heard this sound and they're like, I don't want my family to live during the time of tribulation. And they bought poison to kill their whole family.
Oh no.
And
It
then they got all
wasn't
paranoid. They couldn't talk to me because they couldn't even talk to their to their Christian friends, because their Christian friends weren't of the same type of church as they were. Let me look at how much time I have.
sometimes divisions.
So you hear the voices, you got to ask them why, right? You got to ask the voices why. You just don't kill.
Yeah, that's a good way to put that.
74:8, and when the trumpet is blown, some of the things are, but I like to compile mythological references, and then I get myself into it. And I know some people that would do the ritual that I would do would not do that. When I do that in person, I do. And I usually leave off the reading part and do that myself, because one, I'm trying to get into it, the point where I see colors and feel things and all that sort of stuff. And I share that when I generally when I do. But okay, 78:18. The day the horn is blown, you'll come forth in multitudes. So again, this is something that's supposed to move all of humanity. And so I don't really know what we can iterate real quick, because we're down to 7 minutes, and I looking up things really quick like that. Six.
Yeah, I picked it on there. It's some ideas. And like the color of the drink, the purple, and a purplish color, grape. Yeah, things like that. My little collection of gnomes. I don't think you can see them off of the.
Well,
They're
gnomes are sort of the creature of the slith is the term for the spirits of air, and so it's on the edge of air and earth, because really the quadrants are cross quarter to cross quarter. So right when we're recording this, it's Earth, but this starts the warming quarter of the year, and then it'll be the bright quarter of the year, and that'll be fire, and the cooling quarter is water. And let's see here, Mark 6:30 to 36. And the apostles gathered themselves together unto Jesus. I've pointed out elsewhere, Jesus is not really Joshua. It's some weird form of "oh thou." It's like a second person thing. So that alone tells you that Jesus is actually more than a historical character. It's something different. It's allegorical and all that. But and told him all things, both what he had done and what they had taught. And he said to them, come yourselves apart to the desert place and rest a while, for there were many coming and going, and they had no leisure as much to eat. And they departed a desert place by ship privately, and the people saw them departing. And many knew him and ran afoot thither out of all the cities, and out went them, and came together unto him. And Jesus, when he came out, he saw much people, and was moved with compassion towards them, because so Jesus is going out, he's doing things. That's a Christ has to travel. A Christ, by definition, a Christ or Messiah is not somebody that just falls into the role in at least the spiritual context. So he moved with compassion towards them, because they were as sheep, not having a shepherd. So he began to teach them many things. And there's different people at different levels. And if they do their part right, not everybody's a goat, not everybody's a sheep. The New Year festival, that dropping the ball thing, they would get a couple goats and they would have a ball, and they would have like stars and planets represented and stuff like this. It was pretty cool. And he began to teach them many things. And when the day was not far spent, his disciples came to him and said, "This is a desert place, and now the time is far past." So a desert is like you're beyond all the extra stuff. Here's just the bare thing, right? And he sent them away that they may go into the country round about it, into the villages, and buy themselves bread, for they had nothing to eat. And we're leaving out the so-called miracle story with all that. Luke 5:1. Luke. Okay, 5:1. And it came to pass as the people pressed upon him to hear the word of God, he stood by the lake of Gennesaret. I don't remember what Gennesaret meant, but them pressing upon him for the teaching, that's obviously an intellectual thing. 11:44. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye are as graves which appear not, and the men that walk over them are not aware of them. So you really have you got to establish yourselves in your afterlife for real. It's not, and what is the other Matthew 13:32. Yeah, I don't like these short meanings because it makes it that okay, 13:32, which indeed is the least of all seeds, but when it is grown, the greatest among herbs, and it becomes a tree, so that the birds of the air come and lodge in the branches thereof. Definitely, I like to use myself some trees. Because one of the rituals of Imbolc is tying stuff to trees. And at least that time of the year, the Yazidi, if they're going to tie stuff to trees, they're going to do it in the warming quarter as well.
I have a dogwood tree that I tend to like very much. How many ties were there last year? It seems like
I've been using 15 every year. And there's reason for that I put forward in one of my seasonals because of the tarot cards I included, and also some other stuff with 15. And let me say this verse here, Matthew 23, verse 27. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you are like whited sepulchres, which appear beautiful outward, but are within full of dead men's bones and of all uncleanness. So you have to definitely do things for your own state, right? You can't rely on others, and it's got to be authentic. Because if you just put on a show, certainly that can be part of it. You want to perform well when you do a ritual or sermon or whatever, but it's got to be, you can't leave it at the pulpit.
Right.
That's what people don't get, is that this stuff is it's not just rituals, it's principles that you become. It's like when at the end of the ritual, may it become my flesh, may it become my blood. I pick a bread and a drink and I consume it. And if other people are there, it's in different portion, they each have a cup or whatever. At this point, I have a handful of cups. I think I'll if anybody shows up for one of my seasonals, I'll probably give them a cup until I run out of my skeleton hand cups. But the so it becomes a physical thing. It becomes something outside the ritual, and that's why you never banish. Never banish. And I don't really have much of a meaning for this symbol. Maybe I'll understand when it's more worked out. Do you have any idea other than the fact it gives sort of a lunar, solar, Venus, mind, body, something?